Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Inclon. I'm Amplio's Communications Director. Welcome. During the first half of our program today, we're going to give you an overview of talking book technology and programs. We'll share some use cases and we'll look at some of the special features. We have a new system for processing user feedback, which is the talking book collects user feedback messages. So we have a new system for processing that, which helps with monitoring and evaluation. And while we're waiting for a few more people to sign in, we'll play a short message that one of our partners put onto their talking books. You can put any kind of content onto talking books. It's similar to community radio, where the format is often a song, a drama, or an interview.
কথা কওয়ার বইয়ে সবাইকে স্বাগতম দরকারি স্বাস্থ্যের কথা শোনেন দিয়া মন মা শিশুর পুষ্টি নিয়ে সকল তথ্যই আছে দরকারি স্বাস্থ্য তথ্য বলি সবার কাছে গর্ভবতী নারী এবং দুধ খাওয়ায় যে মা তাদের কি কি করতে হবে দরকার আছে জানা কিশোর কিশোরীর জন্য কি বা প্রয়োজন কথা কওয়ার বই এইসব করিবে বর্ণন কথা কওয়ার বই এইসব করিবে বর্ণন কথা কওয়ার বই এইসব করিবে বর্ণন
The short video clip you just saw was an audio message that Care Bangladesh put onto their talking books so that when their community agents go out into the field and they convene a meeting, whether it's farmers or mothers or adolescent girls, they play a welcome song first and then they launch into the program with whatever messages they want to share. So that's a creative way that one of our partners has used talking books. And I played this song because it makes me happy to hear it. Okay, so to get things started, we're going to do a quick survey just to see who's in the room so far and look at what some of the sectors are that you're working in. Lisa, can you share the slide? We have a slide that tells you how to get to the survey. You can go to www.menti.com. We're also going to put a link to the survey in the chat, so you can click on the link if that's easier.
While we're waiting for the results of the survey, hi, I'm Bea Covington. I'm the Global Partnerships Director from Amplio, and I wanted to make a quick comment. The video that Erin showed where you saw the community agents and the youth who were group leaders working with the talking book in small groups, that's a very common way that our partners use talking books. And we often hear from those community agents or group leaders that having the talking book with them is really helpful to them because it makes sure that the materials and the information that they're sharing with their communities is consistent from community to community. And it also gives them a level of agency and authority because they are the bringer of the talking book and the bringer of the knowledge that's on the talking book to the communities where they are working. So we see generally our community agents are excited to have the talking books and to integrate them into their work. And in many cases, they feel like the talking book makes their work easier and they can reach more communities more frequently, particularly if they are leaving the talking book behind in each community as they move from community to community. So we'll talk more at the end of the program about the ways that you can design talking book programs and use talking books in the field, and there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end. But I did want to kind of share that observation because it's really wonderful that Care Bangladesh is using the talking book to communicate messages about agriculture, about health, and a number of different topics. And I think that's also one of the big strengths of the talking book is that you can put any kind of content on it in any local language. So I know there were some questions in the in the registration, people asked about different types of content and whether they could be put on the talking book. And the short answer is, if you can speak it, you can put it on the talking book. Yeah, so this is an example of how one of our partners uses the talking book in an agricultural related project with women's groups.
I'm talking a little bit about the GROW project, a project that we implemented in northern Ghana for 6.5 years. And we worked very closely with Amplio and their talking book. So the talking book made significant contributions to the lives of women in northern Ghana. The women that we worked with there are rural, and most of them have very little education. They have limited access to information, especially technical information on agriculture.
What we wanted to do is to make sure that they understood agriculture, health, education, land rights, and gender.
With Talking Book, the women had access to a wide range of technical information whenever they wanted it.
Oftentimes, women are unable to attend sessions for training because either they're working in their fields, they may be pregnant, they may have family obligations. With a Talking Book, it is a handheld teacher, and that handheld teacher can travel anywhere. It can go out to you if you want to get some water, it can go out with you to the field, can sit with you with your family, and all you do is press and listen. It allows you to reach anyone that you need to in a way that's not invasive. I think why the Talking Book is so successful is because you can repeat the lesson again and again, and no one has to be embarrassed to ask the question, I didn't understand it. Can you say it again? I didn't get that. Can you say it again? That's the beauty of it, because it doesn't judge you. It continues to play. It allows you to learn at your pace. In our area, we had 9 different languages. Amplio can tell you which lessons were played again and again and again. From a data standpoint, what that does is our least listened message, what were we doing wrong? Immediately we'd know what was resonating, what wasn't. The Talking Book is anything you want to create it to be. Let's say that we want to add something new, a new nuance to our program. You don't have to change your program, you just have to put it into the Talking Book. So our women were finding they were getting cheated by middlemen. What we did was give women negotiation skills. And part of that was in our Talking Book, having women hear how to negotiate, having back and forth conversations that they could listen to again and again. I mean, think about that. Women were able then to rip up contracts and say, nope, your price is too low. These women knew what their value was. They were able to ask for it. And when they weren't being met, they walked away. And if that's not an empowerment story for women, I don't know what else it is.
We can say wholeheartedly that Talking Book has had a significant impact on gender equality in these communities and to the perception of women as experts.
I think one of the biggest problems with all programs is you have to increase your reach. And I think that because money is always a huge issue and whether or not you can go further. And I think what the Talking Book does is amplify that reach.
I will turn the floor over to my colleague, Bea Covington, Amplio's Global Partnerships Director, and we'll go into the technology and how to set up a Talking Book program.
All right, so it looks like we have a lot of folks who've joined us today from West and Central Africa, a second largest cluster from North America, and then a small group from Eastern and Southern Africa, 1 Latin America and the Caribbean, welcome, 1 South Asia, welcome, and 2 from Europe and Central Asia, and 1 from the MENA region. So we have a very diverse crowd. And okay, this is great. We have large number of folks working in education, lots of folks working gender equality, women's empowerment, innovation and technology, nutrition, agriculture and food security, democracy and human rights, water and sanitation. So we have a broad spectrum of participants. And I think you saw from the MEDA Grow video that they were able, even though their primary focus for their program was agriculture, they also put a lot of other information on their talking books. And that is certainly, I think, one of the advantages of the talking book is that you can put messages that are tangential to or related to your program, but may not be your primary focus. And you can organize those messages into playlists so that listeners can choose a topic and move through a series of topics over time. Right now, I am going to actually show you a talking book and talk about some of the basic features. So I'm going to turn my screen back on and see how my skills as a weather woman go. This is the talking book, and you can also see it on your screen. It is a rugged, durable device. Our data shows that the talking books have a field life of about 10 years, which is great. There is a silicone band around the edge of the talking book, and that helps protect it against drops and steps and those kinds of mishaps that happen when you are out in a lot of the rural communities where the talking book is typically used. The talking book has an internal speaker, and this is a speaker that you can use to listen in groups. The speaker is loud enough that you can listen in groups of roughly 20 people, and everyone can hear the messages clearly. You do have the option to plug in an external speaker using this jack at the top of the device, and that would allow you to project to an even larger audience of listeners. There is a built-in microphone so that listeners can record their thoughts or ask questions. This is part of the user feedback function of the talking book, and we'll talk in a little bit more detail about how that works. But it's a very good way to capture insights from your listening audience. The icons that are on the front of the talking book are the icons that you use to move between playlists and through messages on a particular playlist. These icons were created in partnership with communities, and they are universally acceptable to communities where the talking book has been sent into the field. The icons themselves, if you press on them, you initiate a voice prompt that tells you to, if you want to listen to, turn the talking book on, press the bowl. To listen to messages, press the tree. To listen to another message, press the right hand. To go back, press the left hand. All of these voice prompts are fully recordable and customizable in the local language of the community where you are sending the talking book. So not only can you put the actual message content in the local language, but you can record these prompts as well. So the device becomes fully customizable for the audience where you are sending the talking book. This is a last mile technology, so it is designed to be used in the field without connectivity and without need of power. The device runs off of locally available batteries, either A batteries or D batteries, or in the new version of the talking book, we have a lithium ion rechargeable battery embedded in the talking book. The new version has the rechargeable battery as an add-on, but it still retains the ability to use the D or the A batteries. So that way you are fully able to power the talking book regardless of the power situation in the community where you are working. So this is the basic device. There is also a USB port, which is where you connect the talking book to either a smartphone or a tablet to actually execute the transfer of new messages onto the talking book and to pull usage data off of the talking book. And that transfer can happen in the field without connectivity. And once the receiving device, your smartphone or your laptop, comes back into connected range, then there is an upload to a dashboard where you can look at the usage statistics. So this is the basic device. And now let's talk a little bit about how you can design a program that uses this basic device.
My name is Lindsay Dakin, and I'm the Global Partnerships Program Manager with Amplio. I'm going to share how we help our partners set up and run their talking book programs. There are 4 phases to a talking book program: program planning, content creation, talking book deployment and implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. During the planning phase, we define the overall program goals and behavior change objectives. What do you want program participants to do as a result of what they hear on the talking books? This will help guide the message development. We also decide how the talking books will be delivered into communities. through groups, community agents, or directly into households, or maybe a combination. Based on the program listening model, we develop an implementation plan, rotation schedule, and timeline. In addition, we develop a monitoring and evaluation strategy, considering how you will put talking book data to use. After the planning phase, it's time to create the audio content that will go onto the talking books. During the content creation phase, you choose the message format. Is it maybe a song or a drama or an interview? And then you develop the message topics and scripts, test those messages for effectiveness with your target audiences, and produce the audio recordings. Your program may have more than one language. Remember, the talking book is fully customizable in any local language. During this phase, you will also set up the talking books for your program languages by recording these system prompts. For example, to hear the next message, press the tree. Content creation is usually done by our partners or local consultants who understand the context. Amplio can also provide consulting support and share best practices as needed. During the deployment and implementation phase, we will train you on how to use our software to manage your content and load it onto the talking books. You will also conduct sensitization and training activities with your communities to generate excitement and prepare them for using the talking books. And now you're ready to send your talking books into the field. Depending on your program model, you can facilitate listening and discussion groups, conduct community outreach and door-to-door sensitization activities, or rotate the talking books among households in target communities. The fourth step is monitoring and evaluation. Most of our partners update the content on their talking books and collect usage data and user feedback recordings on a quarterly basis. You can access your talking book usage data on the Amplio dashboard and create and share visualizations. In addition, Amplio provides quarterly data summary reports and conference calls to review and discuss your data and lessons learned. Because our technology collects usage data and user feedback, you can gain a deeper understanding of the interests and priorities of the communities you serve and continually update and improve your talking book content for greater impact.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. One of the features that we hear most often from our partners about is the user feedback function. And we've recently created some additional software that helps partners maximize that user feedback function as part of their monitoring and evaluation activities. So we're going to do a little bit deeper dive into that monitoring and evaluation and that user feedback functionality to give you a sense of what is possible with that particular capability. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Zook, who is our monitoring and evaluation and learning advisor.
Hi, my name is Lisa Zook, and I'm the monitoring, evaluation, and learning advisor at Amplio. I want you to think about your day. How many times have you been asked to give feedback on a product or service that you have been using? My guess is that it's fairly often. And what has enabled you to do that? You're literate, you're connected to the internet, and you're likely speaking one of the most common languages in the world. So computers and machines can understand what you're saying. So how does your ability to provide feedback change if you're illiterate, not connected to the internet, or speaking a minority language? This is a challenge that we often face in international development. It's simply hard to reach the communities where we're working. And it's even harder to get honest reflections from project participants, whether that be because of geography, language, gender norms, or power dynamics. So while we all strive to amplify community voices in our programming, it really isn't easy. At Amplio, we have been exploring how our technology might overcome some of these challenges. For those of you who are not familiar with the Talking Book, this device was developed to be used in rural and remote communities. It's a battery-operated device that plays educational messages on demand through this speaker. The device also has a microphone, which is what I really want to focus on today. The microphone allows any community member to record a message in his or her local language and on any topic that community member is thinking about, whether that be in response to a message that they heard on the talking book or perhaps something else that's happening within the community. This microphone is really an open door to better understand the community in which a project is operating. You'll see here a photo of a community health worker in Kenya recording user feedback during a mother's group. Here is a woman in Ghana recording a message after listening to the talking book in her home. So you might be thinking, great, problem solved. We have a way to hear from community members using the talking book, but it isn't that simple, because while we overcame one challenge, we actually found that we had created a new challenge, and that was that we gathered so many user feedback recordings that our partners were really struggling to make sense of it all. And as a monitoring and evaluation specialist, the thought that this data source of all these recordings were not being put to use really bothered me. So this year, we've been working to develop a new user feedback processing system. The system allows analysts to access user feedback recordings through a web-based application. Once logged in, the system randomly selects a user feedback recording from the project and plays it for the analyst. The analyst can listen to the message, they can speed up, they can slow down, depending on what's needed to really make sure that they're able to hear what the project participant is saying. The analyst answers questions about the recording after listening to it. So for example, they might be asked, what topic is the speaker talking about? Or what follow-up action is needed to make sure we're addressing what this community member said. The user then presses submit, the page refreshes, and a new user feedback recording is provided for processing. A few things about this system: multiple analysts can access the recordings at one time. You can filter the recordings by language, so an analyst that only speaks one local language can filter the messages that he or she needs to listen to. There's a red button here that allows you to classify a recording as not feedback. You might imagine that we get lots of recordings that are simply background noise or chatter, and this allows the analyst to quickly identify those messages and move on. There are a few questions that flag a recording, meaning that this recording is so important or poignant or needs follow-up that a project manager should listen to it and take action. And then the questions here that follow a recording are fully customizable. So we work with our partners to develop a survey that aligns to their project's monitoring and evaluation framework or theory of change, or if there's just questions that they have that they're interested in discussing. In doing so, we are transitioning from all of these qualitative messages to this, something that project managers can take, interpret, and act upon. We've been fortunate enough to pilot this new processing system with our partners at CARE and UNICEF. We're currently working with 6 new partners throughout Sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia to effectively gather, process, and put to use this user feedback. If you're interested in exploring how your project might benefit from embedding user feedback into decision-making, or if you're interested in talking with us about how to process large quantities of qualitative data, please reach out. We look forward to collaborating with you.